In the first part of this video, we saw how Thornbury FM had a constitution which supported the involvement of minority communities. We learnt that there was an association for Asians, the South Gloucestershire Asian Project, SGAP, and that its office was in the Chantry Community Centre in Thornbury. The SGAP's own constitution empowered it to work with other local organisations. The SGAP had already been involved in an SRSL broadcast in Bristol, with a programme hosted by Vijay Chandiramani. Later, Vijay Chandiramani was a guest on a Thornbury FM programme, but the SGAP was not invited to participate at that time. An Asian female student at UE was treated apathetically when she offered herself as a volunteer with the station, whereas a white male UE student had already been a station presenter. I now continue. Returning now to the SGAP, although it wanted to work in partnership with local bodies, it looked like Thornbury FM did not want to work with the SGAP. Since May 2006, as far as I know, there was no further involvement of SGAP with the station whilst it was still called Thornbury FM. The station's attitude seemed to be that SGAP had had its interview and that was it. The idea that SGAP should have a permanent slot of its own on Thornbury FM was perfectly reasonable, plausible, commendable and achievable. However, Thornbury FM resisted the implementation of that idea for 4 years, only conceding a mainly music slot to an SGAP member during its 10th broadcast in spring 2010, after the station had renamed itself. There still seems to be an unconstitutional reluctance to allow broadcasting in minority languages. In videos 8 to 10 in this series, you will learn how Thornbury FM seemed to want to promote Christianity, and that unwritten objective could appear to be jeopardized by participation in the station by Asians associated with Islam, Hinduism and Sikhism. In 2004, the SGAP had received the Queen's Award for Voluntary Service. This award is given for outstanding achievement by voluntary groups who regularly devote their time to helping others in the community, improve the quality of life and opportunities for others, providing an outstanding service. 3 of the founder members were invited to London to attend a reception at St James Palace, where they met and talked with the Queen and Prince Philip. However, it was a different story with Thornbury FM and the Vicar. It was not that the Vicar had to walk far to invite the SGAP to be on the station, even if he was somehow unable to do so whilst chairing the Corporate Equalities Forum. South Gloucestershire Asian Project, Unsung Heroes. Thornbury FM, something else entirely. Thornbury FM made a more recent attempt to diffuse criticism. Although, as Thornbury FM, it did not bring the SGAP onto its programming, as it did with the South Gloucestershire Chinese Association in spring 2009, it did have, wait for it, David Lehman! He actually does not look anything like the fictional Norman Bates character played by Anthony Perkins in the 1960 Hitchcock classic Psycho, but he does look remarkably like a real-life murderer, Dr. Crippen. In fact, I find it hard to tell them apart. Lehman's program was called Dance and Chill. He played dance music and a chill ran down your spine. But you can relax. The Indian content of Dance and Chill did not really come from David Lehman. He had a guest on his special Indian night of Saturday, 2nd of May 2009, and that guest provided nearly all the music. Step forward, Romy Gill. Thornbury FM seemed to pin all its hopes of boosting its multicultural image as far as Asians were concerned on Romy Gill. As well as her guest spot on David Chiller Lehman's program, Romy Gill presented a weekly Indian cookery program. She had previously co-presented a Saturday afternoon sports program on Thornbury FM, and here she was dressed up for Thornbury FM's image makers. So that was alright then, wasn't it? Well, no, it wasn't. However, it gave an opportunity for kids from St Mary's Church of England Primary School to get involved on the 7th of May programme. If you see the 10th video in this series, you will understand one reason why those school children were selected. So that was Romy Gill, providing sanitised ethnic content for Thornbury's well-meaning white middle class. Whilst it may have been good for business, it was still a long way from Thornbury FM having SGAP on board and meeting its constitutional objectives. In a desperate attempt to show its new Asian credentials, the station's website displayed a recipe of the week, Indian of course, and produced specific posters to display in town. Gill continued her involvement with the station after its name change, as did Lehman, still trying to convince any listeners that he knew about Indian music and culture. Sangeeta Dewan, chair of the South Gloucestershire Asian Project, was given a slot on Gloss FM's Spring 2010 broadcast. Pressure should be put on the management of Gloss FM to ensure that the SGAP continues on the station and does not get dropped, as happened with the South Gloucestershire Chinese Association. The SGAP has a right to broadcast on the station in any languages of its choice, and that right is given to it by the station's constitution. However, it was nearly too late, with anything Thornbury FM having to offer almost becoming obsolete. The SGAP was heavily involved with its own South Gloucestershire SRSL station, Radio Mast FM, which had as a main objective to obtain a DAB digital broadcasting licence for the South Gloucestershire area. Sangeeta Dewan presented the breakfast show Morning Madness.
Sorry about this, ladies and gentlemen, there's a slight technical difficulty with the format of the CD.
Oh dear, that's it.
Yeah, right, that's on there.
about the technical issues at the moment, but coming up after this we have the Kea drums, and that's sponsored by Dunkley's Accountants, and then we've got the second Punch and Judy show coming up at 4:50, and a little bit later on also Thornbury Music Centre and the Blue Flames cheerleaders. Fingers crossed we're going to get the technical issues sorted out, and we'll carry on with the Indian dances in a few moments time. So thank you for bearing with us.